What's up, everybody? Derek Johnson here. I know I don't come on here a whole lot, just because I manage all of my social media accounts. So that means all my Facebooks, which are 3 of those and 1 personal. And then I have my X account, my True Social account, this TikTok here, and a few other things. So, but just a few nuggets for you. So like the tariffs, you see right now all the tariffs bringing in all the money. The one thing that shows that the whole thing's been a military operation, military occupation, continuity of government, straight up laws and orders show that first off, but then there's a few nuggets out there kind of like the tariffs. The tariffs are presidential authority, which is your trade acts of 62 and 74. And so not one single time from 2021 to 2025 for the people that thinks that quote unquote Joe was real. He never once terminated a tariff. Also from 2021 to 2025, not one single judge tried to block a tariff. All right, so that shows you right there straight out the gate. That's a little nugget for you. Also showing you your military occupation, continuity of government, wartime powers is your the AP, the PBS, NPR, all those things are mainstream media. So CNN got hammered straight out the gate. And then you saw President Trump posting about the AP, so the Associated Press. The appeals court has upheld a ban twice on the Associated Press, so they're banned from Mar-a-Lago, White House, which also means presidential travel. That right there is straight up 47 United States Code, Section 606, which is actually titled War Powers of the President. Any other time you wouldn't want that because it could be deemed as a quote-unquote dictator. But laws and orders outline that we're in a continuity of government. So when you have a continuity of government, you don't have a military occupation. You just got to know a little bit about those. Then Obama and Russiagate. So you're seeing Obama resurface all over President Trump's post and also the FBI, the DOJ, etc. Well, it's all strategic. You know, a lot of people think this is real time. It's not real time. The laws and the orders show that once you study and comprehend what you study, a military occupation, military government, continuity government, and then all the laws and orders around that entail around that to show you what you're looking at. But for example, quote unquote Obama, right? So let's start off with Michelle first. She hasn't posted on X with 21.5 million followers. She hasn't posted on there since June the 19th. Comey hasn't posted on his X since I think it's June the 10th, somewhere in there. And then you got Obama, who has 130,400,000 followers, and hasn't said anything about Russiagate. And then all your top Democrats hadn't said anything about Epstein whatsoever. But on the Russiagate, you're seeing all the evidence of that come out. Well, the real evidence is in 23-939, which is a Supreme Court docket filed by President Trump, Donald J. Trump, versus United States government, March the 19th, 2024. And it specifically asks a question in there: can a president order SEAL Team 6 to commit an assassination against a political rival? And it says in there specifically that combat generals, plural, and senior level officials, plural, resounding no. And then it goes on to say in there that any military officer who carried out such order committed murder. All right, so Obama is not in the War Powers Act. And so the last president involved with SEAL Team 6 with anybody would be Obama and Osama bin Laden, which was May the 2nd, 2011. But the big question with military attorneys and federal attorneys was Obama's war powers to call in airstrikes on Libya. Well, that's separate than Osama. So Libya pulls in Hillary because she was Secretary of State from 2009 to 2013. She was the one under congressional hearing for who? Benghazi, Libya. Who was the leader of Libya? That would be Gaddafi. Who died? Who was assassinated 5 months after Osama bin Laden? Gaddafi. And Gaddafi had stood in front of the UN assembly in 2011, not long before he was quote-unquote assassinated, and he said the same five world powers cannot rule the world. And also went on to say, are we not going to investigate what happened to Saddam Hussein? He was friends with the U.S. until they what? Hanged him. All right, he was talking about the old U.S. He was talking about that U.S. because that was 2011 when he was saying that. So that's where your real story is. So, 2017 to 2021 was a resetting of the legislative branch. That's when all the unique laws and orders were put into place to allow what took place in 2021 to 2025, which would have been your actual visuals of your puppet government in exile, which is unconventional warfare, irregular warfare. All the laws and orders show this. The presidential emergency action documents show that. So all the troops movement, the 1 million reserve components federalized. Well, then what proves that it's also a military occupation is one key factor. So Executive Order 13848, September the 12th, 2018, which was 2 months before any election under President Trump. So the National Guard were called out 2018, 2020, 2022, and 2024 for the election polls. Well, soldiers can't be at polls unless on federal authority by the president, all right, because there's a Title 18 federal law against that if they're not in official capacity. All right, Title 18, Section 592. All right, so we know for a fact on nationalguard.mil sites that the National Guard have been called out for those elections. All right, but there's no Title 10 on paper. There's no Title 10 on the Federal Register. So the only place that federal authority, that call up could be by the president is in a presidential emergency action document, which they can join with and they coincide with a continuity of government. All right, and there's a continuity of government order in place, Executive Order 13961 from December the 7th, 2020. All right, 3 days later is the most recent and last, or the last most recent order of succession within the Department of Defense. Every single president had an order of succession with the Department of Defense and National Security Council, except for quote-unquote Joe. All right, so there's that. And then other proof, President Trump in 2024, all the way back, even starting in 2021, 2022, 2023 speeches, he said the terms occupied country, white flag of surrender, capitulation, and puppet governments. Now, the capitulation and puppet government terms have been used in mainstream media, and also, for example, February the 18th, 2025, a reporter asked President Trump about a capitulation and a puppet government with Russia. All right, I'm the only one who's ever talked about puppet governments because I'm a retired veteran, one, but also because of my family and my grandfather who served during World War II, and that's when they were used. So see, most of the guys qualified to talk about this are not with us anymore. So you got to have people like me who knows that, but also can pair that with the military and federal of what's going on. So all those terms are not federal government terms. They're law war manual terms. An occupied country, President Trump said that in October this past year. He said, we're an occupied country. We will soon no longer be an occupied country. The Great Liberation starts November the 5th, and the Great Restoration starts on January the 20th. He said starts. He didn't say finish. So we're in a partial continuity government because the continuity government executive order was partially revoked on January the 19th, 2025. So why would quote-unquote Joe continue 8 executive orders with 8 national emergencies by President Donald John Trump? That's deporting illegal migrants, taking back the Panama Canal, freezing the assets of Chinese, funding Chinese military, also banning all of the press, because that's one of those executive orders. So all these things, all right, it's no coincidence. It's straight up by law, a military government, military occupation, continuity government, all unconventional warfare, all irregular warfare. And that's why I have #1 best-selling books, The Midnight Rider Rides Again, Part 1, Part 2. You can find me on my link tree, linktr.ee/1776nation. This is my only TikTok, by the way.